In this series, I'm talking about the various spiritual awakenings that I've had in my lifetime. And when I reflect on all of them together, I see that the awakening came as a surprise to me, um, and it opened me up to a new way of thinking, a new type of teaching. But it took a long time for that to sink in, for that me to integrate that new knowledge with my life and to reconcile it with my previous experiences. And my second spiritual awakening occurred after I became settled in my business life. I had studied and worked since I was very, very young, 16 essentially. I went to high school and worked at night. I went to college and I worked at night and on the weekends, pretty much full time. And then when I started my engineering career, I worked on my master's in engineering and my MBA while I was working full time. And then moving into the investment management field, I spent 3 years working on my CFA certification. So after all that learning and working, I had to take a deep breath and uh, had some time on my hands. I had by that time had moved to Liechtenstein. I married my wonderful wife, and I started to um, pick up on the journey that I had taken when I was much younger and started studying history and getting involved in spirituality. A very good friend of ours had been talking to me about his spiritual awakening, about his search for the truth, studying the works of the great philosophers and looking for logic and reason in the teachings as I had been looking. But I had really never paid attention to him because honestly, I felt he was a little bit fanatical. So in 1995, about a year after I finished my CFA, I got this urge. That's all I can call it. It's urge to learn. And I spent 12 months reading as much as I could about spirituality, about the spiritual world, about the afterlife, about reincarnation. And it was just a burning desire. I had this capacity because hadn't been learning anything for the business. I was still working full time, but still had a lot of time on my hands to learn. And then something amazing happened. Um, I went to my first spiritual retreat in Switzerland, and there I met two spiritual teachers. They have been with me for the last 28 years and been helping me on my spiritual growth. But that's when I met them after this intense time of study. And then a month later, my daughter was born. She was supposed to be born in February, but she was born in November. So when I saw my daughter, this tiny little being who just come into life, fighting for her life, I was fully confident that this was right and this is what should happen, and that there would be no issues. And there wasn't. She was just too small. But she came to us in a way that had caught my attention and realized that the learning that I had been doing is something I needed to continue to do to be the type of father that she really needed in this lifetime. And this second awakening was like the first one. It was just the beginning of a new phase of learning, being able to digest everything that I had been reading and learning and seeing how that fits into my life and into the life of my family. And it was definitely not the end all, because it led me down a path that was a rocky path, which I have to reflect on. Um, and it took a couple of more awakenings in order to get me back onto the right path.